My guest at this time is legendary WWE referee and host of It's All Greek to Me here on the Wrestling Inc. Daily. It's Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Well, thanks for having me back. And like you said, it's all Greek to me. So I'm even wearing the Greek colors today. How do you
Hey,
like that?
I weren't. It's not quite the dark blue, but I have blue on today.
There you go. That'll work. That'll work.
I'll eat some Greek yogurt after this. The whole thing. So.
Okay, sounds good.
So, Jimmy, obviously, we are chatting here on the heels of WrestleMania 37. How do you feel WWE's biggest event of the year came across this year?
I think it came across pretty good. I was skeptical going in because, obviously this is the first time they've held it over 2 nights.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, will it translate well over 2 nights? And I thought pretty much it worked well because, you've been there, I've been there, long Sundays of, whatever 5, 6, 7 hours of wrestling. It can be tedious. I mean, like you suffer from wrestling hangover, which I did over the whole week, but that's a different story. But being able to kind of divide it into 2 nights and have both nights very exciting in my opinion, and getting to not have that overload in one, try to cram everything in one day, I think it worked. And having a live crowd there definitely helped.
So this was a lot of content they put out, right? Between the Hall of Fame, 2 nights of TakeOver, 2 nights of Mania, then you kind of, slide Raw and SmackDown in there, and then you got like a 7-day, marathon of WWE content. Are you a fan of that glut of content? Would you do this again going forward? Like encompass all of what they did again?
As long as it's once a year.
Yeah.
I mean, like for once a year, I can handle it, and have WrestleMania week, so to speak.
Yeah.
But doing it several times a year, I don't know if I can handle it. Like I know SummerSlam is technically their second biggest pay-per-view. I don't know if you would do it for SummerSlam, but because WrestleMania is their quote unquote Super Bowl, I can see it once a year. Yes, you do suffer a little bit of sports entertainment hangover, but at the same time, again, for one time a year, I could digest it.
Maybe the NFL should pick up on this. Maybe the third and fourth teams, they can have a bout the night before the Super Bowl, right? Really kind of pack the thing out there.
Oh, almost like a bronze medal game.
Yes, like a bronze medal, because that's what everybody wants.
Yeah. Well, maybe not.
Anyway, what about I mean, I agree with you. Both nights really kind of delivered in their own ways. How did you feel about the second night ending with a heel Roman Reigns standing tall over 2 baby faces? That's really not a highly traditional way of wrapping up WrestleMania on a note like that.
No, I was wrapping my head around it. I thought everybody thought going in that it probably most likely, and all signs pointed to Edge. And I thought so too. And I was pleasantly surprised by the outcome, and also surprised by the way the outcome came about too. But to your question about the heel ending the final night of WrestleMania, or ending WrestleMania in general,
yeah,
I'm actually okay with it, because now it makes me think, where do we go from here?
Right.
Because like I've said this before to you, and you know this, that I think Roman Reigns is firing on all cylinders right now. He is on a roll. He has found his stride. He is in a groove. Who is next? And there's a lot of speculation who might come out of the clouds to challenge Roman Reigns next. I mean, a certain family member has been mentioned, a certain person whose name is similar to that family member, but with a letter in front has been named.
Okay. I follow this. It's like a game, but I got it.
Yeah. See, it's all Greek to me. See, I'm trying to get it in there, but there's possibilities here, and normally you like to go out on your pay-per-view on a good note, especially your biggest pay-per-view of the year, on a happy note, a happy feeling. But at the same time, it's a nice little swerve for once.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And I know you mentioned, you alluded to Rock and Brock maybe being next, but I don't know, man. Like right after Mania here, we're going into what's now WrestleMania Backlash. Those feel like SummerSlam matches for me, or other WrestleMania matches. Is there somebody on the SmackDown roster right now that you think could be stepping up here and maybe be the next in line to feud with Roman Reigns?
I'm looking at it. I know some people have mentioned Big E, and I do like Big E. And I think he would match up well with Roman Reigns, but at the same time, I don't see him being the guy to dethrone Roman Reigns, but I could see him being a guy that Well, let's go into the next pay-per-view, WrestleMania Backlash. I'm assuming that Edge and Daniel Bryan will have a role to play in that. But going forward beyond that, like I said, Big E could be that guy to get us to that next big name, like we mentioned, like a possible Rock or a Brock, but I don't see him being the guy just yet.
What about a Cesaro?
I like Cesaro, but again, there's someone who I could see getting the best out of Roman because Cesaro is just so darn good.
Right.
And I just don't want to see him in that role of well, I guess, he would elevate Roman Reigns to that level as well. But at the same time, I would rather see him transition into a role where maybe he challenges for the Intercontinental Championship now.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Apollo Crews, he's got Dabba-Kato in his corner and everything. Mm-hmm. That was kind of I don't know if I mean, I like both those guys. I'm happy for Apollo and everything. I was a little disappointed in what a Nigerian drum match was. It was just like a couple bongos, tables, and kendo sticks laying around. It was a little weird to me.
No, it was basically just a hardcore, no rules, no DQ match with a colorful name.
Well, back to the Reigns match here. One last thing. They've talked about how, or I guess it's been alluded to, that this Friday on SmackDown, they're going to talk about the double pin. Now, referee question for you, Jimmy. Roman takes Edge and he puts him on top of Daniel Bryan, and then he pins both men. Right. Does Edge have any room to claim that his body was on top of Daniel Bryan's and he also won that match?
Oh, see, that's interesting. I haven't heard that spin on it, but now here's the question. Now you're going to make me have to go back and look at this. Were Edge's shoulders anywhere near the ground, or was he just on top of Daniel Bryan?
I don't remember. I don't know. I'd have to find the shot. I mean, I feel so. Okay, you're saying there's a difference here, then, right?
Yes, okay. Because if Edge's shoulders, like if he was on top but his shoulders were on the ground, then he technically was pinned as well.
Okay.
But if he was on top of Daniel Bryan, then maybe he does have a gripe because he technically wasn't pinned, but he was on, and he was in direct contact with Daniel Bryan too. So that may be an out as well.
So you think there could be a case here? So I got to go back. I got to Zapruder film this afternoon.
Yes, exactly.
I got to go watch and see if Edge's shoulders were also down on the match, because it could be a game changer here.
Exactly.
And so, like, as a referee, I'm guessing you would kind of, if let's say Edge's shoulders were not on the mat, you would like maybe for him to bring that up, because from your perspective as a referee, you think that he would have some kind of issue to have with the pin there.
Absolutely, because yes, he's not initiating the pin, but then again, he is in direct contact and on top of the person who is being pinned. So, in theory, he does have a gripe.
Man.
And it's an unusual situation, which I've never encountered before. I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear other referees' perspectives on this as well.
So you've never done a triple threat match where one guy pinned both guys at the same time?
Not that I recall, but then again, I've taken too many ref bumps over the years, so it may have happened that I just don't remember it.
Okay, go back and do your research already. All right, well, cool. I'm fascinated by this, because I've had people tell me like, they won't follow up on it. There's nothing there. But then I'm with you, man. Like, there's a case to be made here. I got to go look where the shoulders are at now.
And you could institute instant replay, which had been done, that I have done before. I think I don't know if I'm the only one, but I believe I was the first referee ever to institute instant replay in a wrestling match.
Do you remember the match?
Yes, it was Batista versus Undertaker in a cage match on SmackDown, where they both exited the cage on opposite sides, and we had to go back to the replay to see if they landed at the same time, which they did, and we had to restart the match.
Okay, and so do you like the instant replay thing available to the refs? You think that's a good device?
I think it's good as long as it's not overused, if you know what I mean. Save it for rare and special occasions.
Okay. All right. Well, the flip side here. So night 2 ends with this triple threat. Night 1 starts with the other championship match. Bobby Lashley, he retains over Drew McIntyre. What did you think of the decision here to keep the title on Lashley?
I was actually happy with it. Yes, I understand the case being made for Drew McIntyre. He won last year over Brock Lesnar and with no crowd there. This was his opportunity to win it back in front of a live crowd. But at the same time, I think Bobby Lashley's similar to Roman Reigns, is getting in a groove now. Obviously, he's finding himself a little bit, but at the same time, I think they have something cool here with Bobby. And I mentioned Brock earlier as a guy who might come back because you see that marriage with him and Roman Reigns and the connection with Paul Heyman.
Right.
That's a natural one there. But at the same time, a lot of people have been clamoring for a Bobby Lashley Brock Lesnar matchup as well, because here are two guys that are very big, physical, and similar in strength and power, and that would be an interesting matchup as well.
Yeah, I agree. And it would be interesting, too, to do that one before Roman, because I would think you could have Paul do double duty, right? You could, like, have him over on SmackDown with Roman and then showing up on Raw with Brock. And
Mhm.
that kind of establishes that Paul is still caught in between while keeping, a barrier between these two guys. And
I like that. I like where you're going with this.
Roman could even be a little upset that Paul had to take some time out of his day to go deal with Brock while he's over on SmackDown.
And then down the road, that could lead to where the friction comes in between Roman and Brock, and you have that match at a SummerSlam, or maybe even if you like to build it for an entire year, have that main event next year's WrestleMania.
Now, seeing how the match between Lashley and McIntyre played out, does it make more or less sense to you the breaking up of the Hurt Business?
I didn't like the breaking up of the Hurt Business, and even after the match, I still don't like the breaking up of the Hurt Business. I think, obviously Bobby looks fine with this coming out of this. That's fine, but for Cedric and for Shelton, I think it does them a disservice. I think they fit into that group perfectly. I don't like what's going on here. It appears that the two former members of Retribution may have joined forces with MVP and the Hurt Business, but my goodness, I don't see the fit there. I don't like the fit there, and it's almost like, okay, let's try and salvage this situation. How do we salvage it? I would have preferred that at some point in WrestleMania, Shelton and Cedric somehow, made amends in some form or fashion, and maybe not assisted Bobby so much in retaining the title, but were there in some form or fashion and showed the solidarity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of fans would agree. I'm also with you. I don't know where they're going with T-Bar and Mace. I would think they're going to drop the masks and like come out in suits maybe now, because like you can't keep them looking the way they're looking. It's just never going to work if they're going to do something else.
I know you definitely got to change the look and get rid of the Jerry Cheevers and Ken Dryden masks. Old school hockey references for those who know out there.
How did you feel about the main event on night one then, with Bianca and Sasha delivering there, and with Bianca taking the title from Sasha?
I was perfectly fine with it. I thought the ladies delivered big time. It was they were put in a spot, and they came through with flying colors. I think I enjoyed the match very much. I think. Yeah, I don't mind the title on Bianca. I was almost expecting a little swerve in that one where Sasha might, kind of revert back to her heel ways, and maybe Bayley had a hand in it. But at the same time, it's cool. It's created a new star, and she's shining right now. So I'm good with it.
Did you catch the Tuesday debut of WWE NXT?
Yeah, for the most part, I did. Yes.
Okay, so I'm sure you saw then the moment there. New champion Rhea Ripley, Bianca, and Raquel Gonzalez. They all lift their titles up.
Right.
What did you think of that moment, and what did you think of NXT's kind of first parlay over into Tuesday nights?
I thought it was good. I'm a big fan of the NXT product because, a lot of people talk about old school meshing with new school to create a different vibe, and I think that's what NXT does. In my opinion, better than anybody right now out there. I love the way they mesh the old school product with a new school mentality, and I liked the presentation. Let's put it that way. And having all the women out there and made it feel special. It made it feel like, look, NXT is viewed in a lot of people's eyes as the developmental brand, but having all the women out there, together almost made it feel more like their women's division is on top of the world right now, and we are not just developmental. We are mainstream. We are equal to, if not better than, the other brands.
And that's the first time we've really seen any kind of allusion to that since I think Survivor Series 2019, right? When they were bringing everybody in. Almost in 2020, that whole relationship between the two, between NXT and the main roster brands, kind of fizzled.
Right, exactly. And I like them integrating a little bit and kind of, I don't want to see too much cross promotion, like even Raw and SmackDown. We saw Baron Corbin come over for a little bit and do a little bit of something, but every once in a while it's kind of cool. But I like the fact that in that situation with the ladies, it made it feel like NXT was on a level playing field with the other two brands.
One of my writers asked me to ask you about O'Reilly versus Cole, and whether you liked how they were able to kick out of so many big things during that bout. Did they overdo it, you think, in your opinion, or did they play it just right with that bout?
Maybe to a certain extent they overdid it a little bit, because that's one of my biggest gripes about the other brand out there, AEW, is they they take finishes and the traditional finishes and they kick out of too many. I could see that point, but at the same time, in this situation, I think there are certain situations where it can work, and for the most part, it did work. Even though at times I thought, wow, maybe a little too much. What I did like was the storytelling with the chain, because that was a running theme throughout the match, and that was what caused the finish of the match. That's what was responsible. So on one hand, maybe a little bit too much, but on the other hand, it also allowed the chain to be the main focus of why the match ended.
And yeah, last night Mike Tyson was back at AEW. This was their first night unopposed by NXT as well. Does it feel the same for you, like tuning into an AEW Dynamite when you know they're not going up against NXT? Does it resonate with you still on the same level?
To me, it's fine. I mean, I didn't look at it any differently. I thought I enjoyed a lot of what I saw on AEW last night. The one problem I still have a gripe with is following basic rules.
Yeah.
I get it. You want to think outside the box. At first, they announced that we're changing up the counts for the referees a little bit. After a tag, they're going to have a 10 count to change to switch in and out, and they're going to have a 20 count on the outside. Make it more, I guess, New Japanish.
Yeah,
for
more
lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But they're no longer doing that, as far as I know. But they're barely even counting when the guys are outside the ring. They're fighting out there far too long, and it's such an easy fix where one guy just has to roll in and roll back out, and that resets the count. That's all it is. Simple, easy. And to me, it's just, I hate to use this term, but it feels lazy that they don't want to address that and just tell the referees, hey, don't worry about it. Just like kind of fudge the numbers and just play along, jump outside the ring, keep checking on us, just do anything, but don't count. And especially when you have a main event match where there is no countouts, and right. you have almost every match before that have extended periods on the floor. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying here. If you were more tight with the rules earlier in the show, when you get to that point where you have no rules, it feels more chaotic. It feels more real because you were more strict early on in the show, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactamundo, as a former Milwaukee biker used to say. Again, old school reference, right? There we go.
Yeah. All right. Last thing I'll ask you about here coming out of Mania weekend, the thing that it's got a lot of people have different opinions about what happened with Alexa and the Fiend. I know you've kind of been more open to the supernatural stuff. Where are you sitting right now coming out of Monday night where Alexa and Bray are now kind of in their own demonic, boys and girls club kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm going to... On this one, I hate to feel like I'm copping out of this, but I'm going to take a wait and see attitude. I didn't see this coming. My initial reaction is I'm not on board with it just yet, but let's see where this goes. Let's see where this transitions to, because, all signs pointed to Bray Wyatt getting some kind of retribution after being set on fire by Randy Orton. I don't mind that, Randy got the win there. It's the way he got the win, if that makes any kind of sense.
Sure.
It's just, again, I'm going to wait and see what happens with Alexa Bliss. I don't mind a little bit of supernatural on my programming. Like I said, a little bit of variety. It's okay. Yeah. But one supernatural character is fine. We don't need two.
All right, everybody. It's all Greek to him. Jimmy Korderas back in the house. Jimmy, where do you want to send people to find you, follow you, support you, buy your new merchandise, everything?
Well, you could follow me on Twitter at Jimmy Korderas, or Instagram at Real Jimmy Korderas. And, you can catch me with my weekday ref and rants, where I just pick a topic and try to have a little fun with a little critique about the wrestling that we find today. And everybody's fair game. I'm not attacking one brand over another. It's you're all fair game. And I also do, speaking of the Reffing Rants, I also have the Reffing Rant t-shirts available at prowrestlingtees.com/Jimmy the Ref. And who knows, maybe this will become available one day. My wife gave me a nice little gift here. This is the logo that's on one of the t-shirts available at prowrestlingtees.com.
For those that are in audio form right now, it's a rubber ducky in a referee's jersey with a megaphone.
Yeah. It was designed after this guy right here since we got him.
Oh, the actual duck.
Yes. There is an actual ref and duck.
I don't have a ref and duck. I have a Max. I have a Max from Where the Wild Things Are duck on my desk.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's weird that we both have toy ducks in our office, right?
It shows we're connected.